If you're here, maybe you're thinking about doing some electrical projects in your house. It was brought to my attention that maybe I shouldn't be teaching people how to DIY electrical stuff, at least without introducing some safety tips first. So I'm going to go through some do's and don'ts of DIY electrical safety. Keep in mind, I am not a licensed electrician. I am a licensed heating and air conditioning professional that works under a licensed electrician. So I do have a lot of experience with this, and I've done a lot of projects. As you can see in my page, I've got a ton of stuff available. But I wanted to go through because I couldn't find anything where anybody's doing this sort of DIY electrical safety, because people want you to call electricians to do simple work, which I don't think is correct advice for everybody. There are some mechanically inclined people. If you watch my page, you'll hopefully start to become mechanically inclined and be able to take care of some simple projects in your own house. But that brings me to my first point of the do's. I want you to know your limits, okay? If you're not mechanically inclined, if you're an accident-prone person, you might want to consider not doing electrical work, which brings me to my don't point. Don't attempt anything that you're uncomfortable with. If you're not comfortable working on electricity, pay somebody. It's not that expensive. You can get a handyman or a licensed electrician for anywhere from $75 to $135 an hour, and just build up a couple different projects and have them knock it all out at once. But if you do want to work on electricity, turn off the power first and don't touch the wires without testing them with a meter. Just because you flipped off that circuit breaker, just because you turned off that switch, just because you pulled the disconnect on your HVAC unit, doesn't mean that some hairy homeowner wasn't in there before and they jumped those wires together and completely bypassed the switch. It's very important that you trust your meter, and don't buy a cheap one. Get a good meter. This is what somebody told me a long time ago. If you're going to be trusting your life with something, don't buy the cheapest $10 meter at the big box store. Spend a little bit more money. Get two forms of verification. You can get a voltage pen for 30 bucks or a meter, and so you can test with both of them. And once you're completely sure, then you can even touch the wires together and be triply sure that there's no sparks or anything funky else going on. So that just 3 forms of verification, 2 forms of a minimum before you start working on your electrical stuff. That brings me to my next point, which means educate yourself. I want you not only to listen to me, I want you to watch every electrician out there. I want you to watch YouTube. I want you to watch TikTok. I want you to watch Instagram. I want you to really get a firm understanding of electrical content before you start attempting projects in your house if you've never done it. And start small. The smallest thing is going to be a light switch. It's 2 wires. I think most people can handle that if they train themselves. Bring me to my don't. I don't want you guys, if you're not comfortable working inside your breaker panel, and if you are comfortable, I want you to make sure you understand that you cannot just add circuits to breaker panels. I see this a lot where people will double tap circuit breakers, which means that they're going to add an additional load onto the circuit breaker panel without adding a separate breaker for it. Do not do that. I want you to go to the next point, which is to use safety equipment. I want you to use glasses. I want you to use gloves. I don't want you to be cutting yourself. Use all the necessary equipment. Use steel-toed boots. Whatever you want to use proper safety equipment. Okay, don't get shocked. I had to throw that one in there. You don't want to get shocked, even though there are some articles that say it is healthy to get a shock a year. You don't want to get shocked. I've been shocked plenty of times. It's no fun. There are other things that you can do for your health. Maybe get on a treadmill. Okay, all right. If it's hot after you start working, let's say you replace an outlet or you replace a switch, and you think something's wrong, it's feeling too warm, it's making a noise, shut it off, call a professional. Okay, you did something wrong, and you're gonna learn. Watch the electrician when they come, learn what they do. Okay, also if it looks dark, if you have outlets in your home that are starting to look dark and burnt and discolored, there's a problem. It's too much heat. If the plug is loose, it can create excessive heat and lead to fires, which is another good point. If you do electrical work, you need to understand the risks. Electrical work can potentially, if you mess something up, burn your house down, and God forbid somebody would get hurt in that accident. Also, good idea to have a good fire extinguisher on hand that's rated for everything. I wouldn't buy any fire extinguishers that were rated for only one purpose. Get multi-purpose fire extinguishers, A, B, C. All right, brings me to my next point. Okay, just because you can put a breaker in a slot that's a higher rating, don't increase the breaker size unless you're increasing also the wire size. Remember, circuit breakers are meant to protect the wire, not to protect the fixture. If you draw too much current through a wire, it will melt the wire and cause electrical fires. A lot of people will upsize breakers because they think they want to put a big electric heater in their garage or something and they want to DIY it. You need to make sure you have the properly sized wire for that breaker. That's what they're for. Next thing I want you to do is use proper connections. I don't want you to be taping electrical wires together. You need to be using wire nuts. You need to be using push to connect connectors that are good quality, not the cheapest ones that you can find. And that about covers up what I think. If you have any other DIY safety points, please leave them in the comments. I'd be really curious. I'm sure I've missed a lot of things, like don't stand in the water, don't let electricity go across your heart. That's the main thing. When you get shocked, if you get shocked on like this side of the body, let's say you're standing in a bucket of water and you hold something here, the electricity is going to pass through you like this to go back to earth, and it's not going to go through your heart. So you're probably not going to die, but you know, obviously you don't want to get shocked anyways. So just understand how electricity works. It's always trying to find the quickest and path of least resistance to get back to earth. You know, there's a whole bunch of topics on this and people that are way more educated than me on the topic that I would suggest that you go follow and you go find on YouTube and just research the crap out of this stuff and understand your limits. And if you're not comfortable, it's okay. Not everybody can do everything. I tell people a lot of times before they get involved in projects, could you be doing something more productive with your time? Could you be working overtime at your current job where you're making more money and then you can just pay somebody to do the electrical work in your house? Or you could just pay someone to do the AC work in your house, or you could just pay someone to do the drywall. Maybe you're a lawyer, maybe you're a doctor, maybe you can work some overtime at the grocery store. Whatever it is, sometimes people are more effective doing what they do best and leaving it to the professionals. But I do understand that people are going to DIY electrical content, and I make tutorials for myself so that I can reference back and I can improve upon myself. I make them for other people. I make them for trade professionals. By me teaching, I'm growing a lot more personally. So take all that for what it's worth. I thought it was worth a video because I am getting some feedback on teaching people electrical content, which I do think people can learn it, but be safe. Thanks for watching.